Welcome to the eSPED Focus Training, Progress Monitoring, How to Use the Data Collection Screens. After logging into eSPED, you will land on the home page. From the left-hand navigation panel, select Special Education. Then from the sub-menu, select Progress Reports. Use the filter fields at the top of the screen to help find the student for whom you need to enter data. Once you find your student, click on their name. In the Select FERPA Reason screen, select I am updating the progress the student has made. The first screen to show is Screen 1, Student Information. From this screen drop-down menu, select either Screen 5, Progress Data Collection Goals, or Screen 6, Progress Data Collection Objective Benchmarks. This is fairly self-explanatory. If your goal has no objectives or benchmarks, you will go to Screen 5, Data Collection for Goals. If your goal does have objectives or benchmarks, you will go to 6, Data Collection for Objective Benchmarks. There is an exception. The exception is when the last progress reporting period of the IEP or the final IEP progress report data is being entered for objectives and benchmarks that have time frames that are written in the form of by the end of the first, second, or third 9 weeks of the IEP. That is the exception because the last or final IEP progress report is reported in the goal itself. Therefore, when entering the data collected for the last progress reporting period of the IEP or the final IEP progress report, go to 5, Progress Data Collection Goals. The way the information is entered in the progress data collection screens is identical, regardless of whether entering the information in Screen 5 for goals or Screen 6 for objective benchmarks. In this demonstration, we will be entering information through Screen 6, Progress Data Collection Objective Benchmarks. Once in Screen 6, you will see a listing of the student's goals and their corresponding objectives benchmarks. Be sure to pay particular attention to objectives written with time frames such as by the end of the first, second, and third 9 weeks period of the IEP. You want to ensure you are entering data into the correct progress reporting period. For our example, we will be entering information for the first objective by the end of the first 9-week period. We will enter this data by first selecting the button called Data Collection. At the top of this new screen, you will see the objective in bold typeface. Below the objectives are fields for the data collection type, as well as a from date and a to date. These date fields simply help narrow the listing if there are multiple data points collected for that progress reporting period. These do not print on any report. For our purposes, we will leave these fields blank. To enter the data collection type, click on the drop-down menu. You will see a couple of pre-built options, assignments, and words per minute. These likely will not suit your needs, so you can select New, and then type the brief description for the type of data that's being collected and save. It is important to note that this field can be changed once you begin to enter data. You want the most appropriate description, and that may become more clear once you begin actually entering in data. For this demonstration, I will begin by selecting assignments as the data collection type. Next on the screen, you see an icon or a toggle button for Show Chart. This is helpful once at least 3 or more data points have been entered. We will see that in a little bit. Then you see print options for Show Trend Line, Print Details on Report, and Print Chart on Report, as well as Print on Data Collection Report. I recommend checking all of these options. It will become more evident why when we complete the data collection for an entire progress reporting period and view a data collection detailed report. But more on that later. After selecting the options that will print, we need to enter what is called an aim line. This is the target criteria for this objective. So let's read this objective and determine the appropriate aim line. By the end of the first 9-week period of the IEP, when given an assignment of 20 double-digit multiplication problems, little Johnny will solve the problems with at least 70% accuracy on 3 consecutive weekly progress monitoring probes. Most of us will see that we are aiming for at least 70% accuracy on each assignment. The 3 consecutive weeks is something we cannot include within the aim line. However, after data points are entered, we would look to see that the aim line is hit at least 3 consecutive times. Some of us may look deeper and see that the objective is written for 70% accuracy on an assignment of 20 problems. If we do the math on that, 70% of 20 is 14. So we could instead look at the aim line as 14 accurately solved problems on each assignment. Either way you opt to enter the aim line does not ultimately matter, as the results will be the same. What matters is that when you enter the data collection, it is entered in the same manner. So if there are multiple ways to set the aim line, as there is in this objective, select one, and as you enter the data, make sure that you are remaining consistent, whether you're doing this with the, in this example, accuracy on the assignment with the percentage or with the number of problems. For this demonstration, I will set the aim line based on the accuracy percentage on each assignment. So, as this objective is written, the aim line would be 70. Do not enter information in the average field or the progress towards objective fields. As you noticed, as soon as I input my aim line that I had previously cleared out, because I already have data entered, those are automatically calculated. These do not print on any report. They are simply to give you further information and detail about the student's progress. They are also skewed by things such as my first entry here, which I have done strictly for purposes of demonstrating the types of information that we need in the comments field. Because that has taken up an entry space, it has lowered my progress toward objective percentage. That's not crucial at this time. In this example, several data points have already been entered, as you see. Guidance from our district special education department is that a minimum of 1 data point per IEP goal and/or objective be taken each week, as required by the objective written in this example. A data point is collected weekly. We will enter data for the last week of the progress reporting period for this example. You will see that we already have data entered in for the first 8 weeks of this IEP progress reporting period. To begin new data entry, we will go to the button marked New Entry. I will enter the date of this data collection, which for this example was March 6th. It was the final week of the IEP progress reporting period, of the grading period. The first field entry date can be either manually entered or the calendar can be used. The next field is called Successful Probes. Think of this in terms of the aim line that you have set. In our example, our aim line is in terms of the percentage accurate on each assignment. So the successful probes must also be in those same terms, the percentage of accuracy on each assignment. It is critical to show an accurate reflection of progress. So in this example, this student actually had a 70% on this assignment. The staff member is going to be entered in as a staff member who is responsible for collecting this data. In this example, it should always be the first and last name, but for our purposes here, we're going to say Miss Math is the one who collected this data. You see a button here for intervention required. If a student has shown a lack of expected progress for several consecutive weeks, and especially if they have shown regression for several consecutive weeks, then an intervention is needed and you would select this box. In our example, this is not the case, although we will work through an example here in a moment where that is the case. In the comments field, let me move this over just a little bit so that you can see in the background the information that we want to record in the comments field. If you can see my mouse over here to the right, this was my reference point. We need to include the location and the time that the data was collected, any notes or a description of the activity, the probe, of the data collection session. If any prompts were provided, the type and the number of prompts. If no prompts were provided, then we should also note that. And if an intervention would be required, we need to note that and note which intervention or what intervention would be provided. So let's get started. As you will see kind of here in the background, I have a particular way that I have noted these assignments and these data collection points here, comments. So I'm going to stay with that consistency and I'm going to enter the week 9 assignment. The location was math class and it was completed at 9:30 a.m. Little Johnny solved 14 of 20 correctly, 70% accuracy is what the 14 out of 20 equals. I also am supposed to address whether prompting was used. No prompting was provided in this data collection session. I am going to then click Save after I've entered in all of my information. Now my information has populated in the table. I see week 1's assignment, week 2's assignment, week 3, week 4, week 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now that I have multiple data points, let's come back up here and see what this show chart looks like. What does that mean? When I show the chart, now my data is doing the talking. I can clearly see, yes, Johnny has gone up, he's come back down, he's gone up, but he has met the aim line, which is marked here in the blue line at 70. He has met at least that 3 consecutive weeks. So did he master this objective for this 9-week grading period? Yes, he did. It becomes very clear. This is very useful when communicating and trying to discuss with parents their students' progress. It is very useful tool with students as well. We all know that showing a student the progress they're making is more meaningful to them. It gives them some ownership of their learning. I will hide this now. I'm going to go back now, however, and look at my chart. Remember I said this data collection type needs to be an accurate description of what type of data we've collected. When I look at my chart and I look down this assignments column, does 40, 50, 55, 45, 60, 65, 70, 70, are those explained by the heading assignments? No. I think a better description of what this is when we think about what those successful probes were. And we decided that this was accuracy of the assignments. So I'm going to label this data collection type with assignment accuracy. And let me do that again so that you see what I did. I came back up to data collection type. I selected new, and now I'm going to type in a better description of the information in that column. Assignment accuracy. And I can put in percentage because we're not doing it in terms of the number of problems. We're doing it in terms of the percentage. Okay, now I see this little refresh button over here past the date fields. Refresh. And now this column is labeled with assignment accuracy and percent. That makes much more sense to me. After we have finished entering all of our data, we are ready to leave this screen, so we can click Done at the top of the screen. It is just above the objective itself. That example was fine and good for our typical data collection. We know that at this moment in time, the face of our education looks different. So let me go into the second 9-week period of the IEP to walk you through what our data collection may look like during COVID-19 school closures. I'm going into the data collection, so I'm going to click the data collection button for the corresponding objective, which in this case is number 2. Notice I already have several examples here. I want to point out that my data collection type doesn't have the percentage on this, so let me go and revise it. It says assignment accuracy, but I want it to be consistent between each objective. It is important, particularly when they are in alignment by time frame, and I'm looking for incremental growth. So let me go into new and type assignment accuracy percentage. Again, this first entry is simply a reference for this demonstration only. It is not something that you would enter in. This example is good because it gives us several references to how we would address things like holidays, when we have a whole week of holidays. When we have just a day off, we still can take data, but when we have a whole week off, such as spring break, we should come in. It is best practice to come in and enter for that week the date that you would have typically taken data during that week, and simply enter no data in the Y. It could be Thanksgiving break, it could be winter break, it could be spring break, and click Save. As we know, we didn't come back directly after spring break. We had school closures, so I have noted for those 2 weeks, the ending dates is when I was taking data, was on every Friday. So for 3/20 and 3/27, I entered information into the comments box. No data, COVID-19 school closure. Very simple, and it explains why we don't have data for those points in time. So anybody looking back at this in the future will understand why. Now, when we come back for this student, it is important to recall what Johnny's progress was at the end of the last progress reporting period. Remember that aim line in the last objective was that he would hit 70% for 3 consecutive weeks, which he did. Well, Johnny's not been in school and receiving direct instruction for 3 weeks now, so he has fallen back a little bit. He has performed this first week back, our week 4 assignment with the 55. Let's go into this and see how I'm going to note the location, time, etc. for this particular example while we've been providing remote or distance learning. Enter the date and the percentage and the staff member, just as you would. Week 4 assignment is the same as I would have noted previously. But the location, I'm putting Google Classroom due to the COVID-19 school closure. I know that when little Johnny has turned that in on Google Classroom, I can see that he completed it, turned it in on this date at this time at 2:30 p.m. And then I'm including the notes. Little Johnny solved 11 out of 20 correctly, 55, or that is 55% accuracy, and that the parent reported prompting was not provided. I know that he has fallen back, but I'm not going to be alerted. I would expect that since he has not had instruction for 3 weeks. Going into the next week on 4/9, notice the student fell back again. This time he fell back to 50%. Considering all of the circumstances, the fact that he's not been in school, the fact that he's showing to have regressed from the end of the last progress reporting where he had hit 70 for at least 3 weeks in a row, I know that intervention is required. I don't need to let this go on any longer. I need to do something. So I'm going to include the week 5 assignment just as I would have, my location and time, the Google Classroom due to COVID-19 school closure, and it was turned in by little Johnny on Google Classroom 4/8 at 5:30 p.m. Notice he's done these assignments at home in the afternoons. Little Johnny solved half of the problems correctly. The parent reports that prompting was not provided. But let's look at how I'm addressing the fact that there has been some slippage in his attainment of this objective. In a video conference with little Johnny and his mother, Miss Math encouraged little Johnny to work on math assignments first thing in the morning. Miss Math also completed a reteach of the material as an intervention to accompany that suggestion. So that's not a huge intervention. It's simply reteaching some material, getting it fresh in the student's mind again, and making a simple suggestion like, hey, maybe let's have you do your math in the morning because you have math class first thing in the morning every day when you're at school. And I've noticed that you've done a little worse in the afternoons. Let's see if that makes a difference. It may or may not. I'm going to click Save. You'll notice this red X here in the table, which also shows on the chart. I thought that it showed on the chart. Yes, right here. This shows that at this point in time, an intervention was needed, an intervention was provided. Let's look now, did the student respond? Well, yes, the next week, little Johnny did do better. Is he up to the point where he was at the end of last 9 weeks? Is he up to 70 yet, where he was before? No, not yet. And he's certainly not up to the new aim line of 75, but he's on his way. I also know that I have the blessing of having additional weeks this particular 9-week period. We actually have 11 weeks in a 9-week period. So I have time, Johnny has time to acquire this objective as written. Now look at 417. We notice again that he has turned in, he has gone up to a 60%, we just saw in the chart. But look at the information that is provided in the comments. His assignment was time-stamped in Google Classroom at 9 a.m. So for little Johnny, it did perhaps impact him, along with the reteach to get the material fresher in his mind. That intervention seemed to have a positive impact. So we would expect that he's going to continue on that trajectory at this time. Let's look at the data now to see when little Johnny finally hits the aim line, or if he finally hits the aim line, which we remember from this goal is 75. Remember up here it was set at 75% accuracy. He does finally hit it on May 1st. Remember, this goal is written for him to hit that aim line at least 3 consecutive weeks. So he has done it here on 5-1. He's done it here on 5-8, so that's 2 consecutive weeks. He's done it here on 5-15, so that is 3 consecutive weeks. At this point on 5-15, we know that little Johnny has mastered this particular objective. He happens to go on and knock it out of the park one more week, thank goodness, and finishes strong with an 80% this final week. So he actually had 4 consecutive weeks of hitting that aim line. Since all the data points have been collected and recorded, I'm going to go ahead and select Done. Now in these examples I have shown you, yes, I've had other data entered in here. It is the expectation that you are doing this weekly as you collect the data, not all at once at the end of the progress reporting period. I'm going to hit Done. Now, my information is entered in. What do I do with that? At the end of the progress reporting period, we know that we're completing progress reports, but now we've got the data right here in the system that is supporting what I'm going to be reporting as progress in my IEP progress report. I need for this information to show and or to supplement what I'm going to be reporting in that progress report. So I want to archive this information and provide it along with the progress report. So let me show you how to archive a report called the Data Collection Detailed Report. While still in the progress reporting application, we're going to go along the top of our screen where we have these tabs, Saved, clear, unsaved changes, previous, next, students, reports, and then we see this button, Print Archive. I know, it's tricky. That is where I'm going to go to Print and to Archive. Click on the Print Archive tab. Here I will see a list of the possible reports that can be run from the progress reporting application. I am selecting the very last report currently available, which is called Data Collection Detailed. I want to print a final copy. Do not click Print a Draft Copy. The only thing that printing a draft copy does is it prints the watermark draft on each page of your report. Data collection is not drafted. We are printing a final copy. Hitting this button, Print Final Copy, does not mean it goes into the archive yet. It simply means it doesn't have that watermark. It's a clean copy. I'm hitting Print Final Copy for the report Data Collection Detailed. Once the report is generated, you will be able to actually view it from this screen. Pretty nice. I can see that my goal is printed the way that I would see it appear in my actual ARD. So it's printed here and I see my goal and then my first benchmark or short-term objective. And then just beneath that benchmark, I see the report, the chart from my data collection, and then I see all the detail. So it explains what is going on here in this chart in more detail. Then I see my next objective and the chart that goes with that progress and the detailed data collection that goes along with that progress reporting period. This is an invaluable tool to supplement and go along with our progress reporting, our IEP progress reports. Use this viewing window to catch errors. Perhaps you didn't check something, perhaps you entered something incorrectly, so use this viewing option. It is there for a reason. When you know that it's good to go, we're going to come over here and we're going to put in an archive comment. The archive comment should simply be the date. Right now, we're pretending that it's the end of the second reporting period of this IEP, which for this student is the end of the current school year. So I'm pretending this is 5/27/20. The date, then underscore, and data collection detail. It doesn't have to be in all caps, but this should be the format that you're putting in the archive comment. We need to file it in the correct folder, which would be for this school year, which is our 2019-2020. Nothing has happened yet. I'm now going to push the archive button. I get a confirmation that tells me your final document for the student has been archived. And it tells me what the report, the name of the report. I'm going to click OK, but we don't trust that. We must go in and check for ourselves to make sure that this document is indeed in the archive. I'm going to X out of this tab. I am now going to show you a way to easily navigate into the Archive Manager without going over here to the archive, an Archive Manager from the navigation panel. That causes me to have to find the student's name again and enter a new FERPA reason. Let's cut those steps out. I want to use this application drop-down window right here. Drop down and go directly into the Archive Manager for this student. Boom! It takes me right to the Student's Archive Manager and I didn't have to enter a new FERPA reason. In this folder, I can see that I've already archived a data collection detail report back on 3/6. I now have a new report called Data Collection Detailed, and in my comments, remember, this is how I titled it, or what the comment I listed was. You want that comment to actually be moved over here to the document title so that we can easily navigate through the archive to find the correct documents. Titling your documents, renaming them in the archive is critical to make finding and accessing the correct documents easy for everyone. I can simply go into the Edit button for this report, Data Collection Detail, the one I just ran. Click the Edit button. It opens up this Archive Information window. I'm not changing the student name. The only thing I'm going to do is come down here where my comments that I had entered in before I archived, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it here in the document title field. Now, my title will be easy to find when I'm navigating through. Think about all those students you have with loads and loads of things in the archive. This makes it very easy to find the exact report that you want. When I need to print this document, I can do so right here. You should archive the document first, come into the archive to verify that it's there, retitle the document to verify and ensure that everyone can find it, then go into View for that document. Let me do that again so that you see it. I am clicking View next to the document that I want to print. It pulls that document up, and from there I can print my document. Okay, you can scroll through it and see it again as well. That is it. Thank you very much for taking time to learn about how to properly use the data collection screens. Please refer your colleagues to this video training as well. Everybody stay positive, stay calm, and stay safe. Thank you.